As long as I was going after the crooks that didn't have badges, I was everybody's hero.
I was sitting out in the hall and I heard Paul say that he didn't want to follow me. Well, I listened to Paul's talk. He's going to be hard to follow. Paul's a good speaker. And not only that, I learned how my wife can save money when she puts me in the nursing home. So, thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Wayne, thank you for inviting me again. Thank all of you for inviting me again. This is my second time to speak with you. I think if you invite me back again, that means we're going steady. So be careful, all right? Give you a little bit of my background, but I don't want to talk about that. Last time I was here, I told you all about my background, and if you want to know it in detail, watch The Confession Killer on Netflix, because they tell the story a whole lot better than I do. It's a 5-part series. I come in toward the end of part 2 and I'm in the rest of it. You'll see that I was involved in blowing the lid off of the fake Henry Lee Lucas confessions. He had confessed to 600 by the time I came along and saw 3 in my county. I was the DA in Waco. 3 in my county in the mid-'80s he had confessed to, and they just didn't look right to me. So we pulled together a grand jury to see how Lucas was confessing to all these crimes that it didn't look like he had committed. So anyway, I made some real powerful people angry with that. I got arrested, trumped up charges. I was looking at 80 years in prison. Yeah, federal years. I had made a really powerful man named Jim Adams, who was head of the state police and used to be former director of the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover. I had made him mad when I did this, because I was basically calling them liars over these Henry Lee Lucas confessions. He had confessed to 600, they had cleared 300, a little more than 300 actually. And after my grand jury cast doubt on all of those confessions started being, those cases started being reopened. Can you imagine 300 closed cases on somebody who had not done the crime? So, matter of fact, in today's San Antonio newspaper, I saw it this morning. I got a news alert because I get alerts on any time they say anything about Henry Lucas. They solved another one with DNA. A murder from 1981 that Henry had confessed to, and now they have the real killer. This morning, San Antonio paper. Thank God for that. Got the real murderer. So anyway, I was arrested. I did do the thumbs up. Matter of fact, I brought some cards. I even signed them, put today's date on them. They're on one of the tables out there with the cuffs up if anybody wants them. We order those by the hundreds, so if you want them, please take them. My paralegal is in the back with the camera back there, Jonathan Zimick. Jonathan has been with me for, I think, what, 19 years? 17? Close. Anyway, he was 19 years old when I hired him. So he learned, he was work. That was back when we still had mail rooms before email took everything over. He did all our copying, ran stuff to the courthouse for us, worked our mail room, all that kind of stuff, and then started learning it from the bottom up. Then we sent him to paralegal school, and just love having him. He was with my Austin office until the pandemic, after we went nearly a year and a half without stepping foot in that office, so I finally closed it and moved everybody to Waco. So Jonathan's in Waco with me now. But anyway, after I was found not guilty in Austin, I turned around and I sued all those suckers. Yeah. And one of them I sued was Belo Broadcasting, Channel 8, Dallas, because they had come in and helped Colonel Jim Adams smear me like you wouldn't believe. 11 episodes over a 3-month period accusing me of everything. Our Congressman Bob Pogue said, they've accused that boy of everything except sex with a live boy or a dead girl. And that's pretty much true. They did. And so I ended up suing Belo Broadcasting. This was in 1991. I got the largest verdict in the history of America on a libel case. 58 million bucks. Now, we didn't collect all that, but I got to tell you, we collected a lot, and I split it with my lawyer, who had really sacrificed a lot to stick with me during a long time when I wasn't able to pay him, because I was just a poor old broke DA living from paycheck to paycheck. So that is in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's the largest ever. And Netflix tells all about that. The only thing Netflix left out is that 5 years after I got that money, 6 years, something like that, the IRS changed the tax code. And they made libel recoveries taxable. Before it was considered personal injury and non-taxable. Well, I've been living for 5 or 6 years thinking this was non-taxable money, and it was. And they made that law retroactive just to get me. Colonel Jim Adams said, well, we weren't able to put him in jail, but we don't have to let him keep that money. So he pulled everything he could, and they pretty much took most of that money away from me. That's why I'm still practicing law. Because I did take off for about 5 years during that time that I thought I had all that money. And not only did I take off, but wow, I went around and I bought cars for people like I was Elvis. Anybody was ever nice to me, I'm going to buy you a car. And I did, and then the IRS came. And so back to practicing law. But I got to tell you, during that time that I took off, I did some really cool things. I gave up all my cases. I closed my law office. I had to close it because they were still sending FBI agents in on me trying to set me up. This is before I had ever I didn't know where Pakistan was. I doubt I could pick it out on a map. But I had 2 guys show up in my office. Mr. Feazell, we hear you're such a good trial lawyer. They look Middle Eastern. Said, we just want to put you on retainer in case we need you. And he slides a briefcase across the desk, opens it up, and man, it is full of cash. And here I am. This is before I got the Belo verdict. I wasn't DA anymore. I had resigned from the DA's office so that I could pursue this lawsuit. And that was more money than I'd ever seen in one place at one time, and it was all in cash. And he said, Mr. Feazell, this is your money. You just can't deposit it. Don't put it in a bank. Don't fill out any forms. And it's yours. Well, y'all know what that would have done. I'd have been in the handcuffs again, right? But they're saying, no, we're from Pakistan and we just really trying to start some businesses here and we don't want to get in trouble. Well, when I was on trial for my life, I wasn't afforded any discovery at all. That was before Michael Morton and all the new stuff to let you know what you're actually being charged with and what they're going to say. So I didn't get any of that. But when you file a lawsuit for $100, you know, I'm suing you for $100. Man, they can look up your rear end with a microscope, you know? You get all kinds of discovery. So I started sending open records and freedom of information to the DPS and to the feds. And I'd get them back from both. Man, it was just redacted like crazy. But I'd put them together, you know, and some would redact this and some would redact that. But I got a good picture because they weren't redacting the same thing. I don't know why they didn't get together, but that was before computers, you know, they couldn't really compare them. And sure enough, there was a 302, an FBI 302. That's one of their daily reports of their activities, from the 2 agents who had come in and tried to give me that money. Thank God I pushed it back to them and said, nope, I'm not going to do that. So, and I was maxed out on my credit cards too and getting ready to try to go to Austin. Getting ready to try the Belo case. I'd already been found not guilty. So I was getting ready to try the Belo case in Waco. We got that verdict in Waco. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard about how conservative juries are in Waco. Not with the right case. Not with the right case. So keep pushing your cases. Keep pushing. I know we got people here today on the defense and on the plaintiff side. Maybe even some criminal paralegals in here. But I hope what I say will give you all something to think about. Because during that 5 times that I took off from work, I'm telling you, I had PTSD. I had been through so much. They had drugged me through so much. I had been accused of everything in the book. Every time I turned around, a friend of mine was being subpoenaed to the grand jury in Austin. It was terrible. My wife was already tired of me and had thrown me out by then. We had all this money so we could afford to live separately. I said, what do? I got PTSD. I said to my wife, I said, we need to get into therapy. She said, no, therapy's for crazy people like you. I don't need it. I wish we had. Maybe that marriage would still be together, but I got to tell you, all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord. It did work out. She's happy now. I'm happy now. Got the love of my life. We've been married 23 years. Yeah, I'm crazy about her. So it all works out. But I was wondering, what do? I got PTSD. I'm feeling terrible. I'm miserable. I got all this money. I could go out and pay cash for a Mercedes if I want to. I can pay cash for a Mercedes for you, Paul. Back then, I might have done it. So I decided to go off. I'd heard about a place called the Pavilion up in North Carolina. It was a rehab center. Now, I wasn't an alcoholic. I hadn't started drinking, and I wasn't a drug addict. I hadn't started using drugs, but I knew that it was a possibility because I was just so miserable. So I went to the Pavilion, and I met 2 of the greatest people there, Gilles and Lillian Desjardins, and they started opening me up, talking to me about things that I had never been talked to about before, about my own feelings, and about how to deal with my feelings, and how to change my feelings, and how to choose my feelings, and how to choose my thoughts, and how to have more direction and control over my life. And wow, that gave me the foundation that I needed. So then I decided to travel east on a quest and a journey to find inner peace. I did. I talked to priests, I talked to swamis, I talked to all kinds of holy men, and I read stacks of books, and went to more retreats, and meditated, and learned yoga, and got my life together. And I still had trouble. But I learned how to deal with it. And I want to talk to you today about how can we deal with some of the troubles of the stresses that come up in our lives day after day after day. And I'm telling you, I'm looking at an audience here that I know gets stress dumped on them every day. Every day. Amen. You are the backbone of the legal profession. You're some of the most unappreciated in the legal profession, yet you are the backbone. There's not a lawyer that could do it without you. There's not a lawyer that could walk into the courtroom without your help. None of them could do it without you. And so I appreciate you, and I hope some of the little hints I give you today are going to help. Now I'm going to give you some couple big hints toward the end, but I'm going to give you some little bitty life hacks right now. The first one you've probably already heard of. It's simple, but in case you haven't, I want to share it with you. And that's the one about, why did I come in here? Have you ever walked in a room and then you don't remember why you're there? Seems like the older I get, the more that happens to me. But I learned that our mind is set up compartmentally, and we compartmentalize our thoughts. And when we change subjects in our mind, it's like walking through a door into a different room. So if you walk into a room and you don't remember why you walked in there, just walk out. Back out. Going to remember what you walked in there for. If that doesn't work, go back to the room you were in where you started your little trip to that room, and it will come to you. It will, I promise. You try it. Now here's one all of you need to know. This is a game, and people play this game all the time, and it's called Who's Got the Monkey? You need to be an expert in who's got the monkey, because I'm telling you, most of the time, you're the one with the monkey. You are. Somebody walks into your office, and if it's your boss, you almost got no choice. But sometimes you do, even with him, because or her, they might be putting stuff on your desk that doesn't even really need to be there. You know, so often we hear, this is a priority. No, this is a priority. This is a priority. And you got to say, I got to prioritize my priorities. So somebody will walk into your office and say, you know, I could use some help with this. I got this thing going on, and would you give me a little help with this problem? I've got this research plan, or drafting this document I've never drafted before. And you're nice, you know. You don't like to say no, but let me tell you, you have a perfect right to say no. Even to your boss sometimes. And be careful with your boss. You don't want to get fired. But if he's the kind of boss that's going to fire you like that, you just really might need another job for your own peace of mind. Seriously. Studies have shown that people that jump around in their jobs actually end up making more money in their lifetime. You know? So don't stay anywhere where you're disrespected. So if you say yes, guess who's got the monkey? You do. That monkey is on your desk. And you know what? Even if you forget that monkey's in there, it's going to make noise. And that person that left that monkey on your desk is going to walk in and goes, hey, how's that project going that I left with you? What they're going is, how's my monkey?
Yeah, and then it hits you on the head and you go,
yeah, how's my monkey? Give them back their monkey.
yeah.
Give them back their monkey. When they come in, your goal is to not have any monkeys in your office. Get that monkey off your desk. If it's not something that's in your job description, get that monkey off your desk. Especially if it's someone, and I've seen this so many times, if it's somebody that works for you. You may have an assistant under you, or somebody that's on an equal level with you, that's giving you their monkeys. Don't do it. You're not a zookeeper. Take care of your business. All right, now this one works. And I'm going to get to the big ones after a while. This is another little one, but it works. I have a client. I had to get him ready for deposition. He remodeled homes for a living, worked with his body, worked with his hands. Decent sort of guy, but he had had it rough his whole life. You know, people had been dumping on him his whole life. He felt disrespected. He felt like life hadn't given him a fair shake. He was the kind of guy that could be walking down the sidewalk and somebody else come down the sidewalk and they look at each other and get in a fight. You know? The reason for that is a concept called the pain body. We start collecting these things that happen to us. My parents weren't good enough to me. My teachers were mean to me. My coach was mean to me. I flunked this class and it screwed me up. The army was bad to me, whatever. And we collect all these things and it becomes like a part of our identity. That's called our pain body. And a lot of people live in that pain body. And the problem with that is if somebody else is in their pain body is going to recognize your pain body. And before you know it, they're going to blows. Well, my client lived in his pain body. And one night he was going down I-35 access road, 10 at night, dark out there, no lights. He's got the 50-mile-an-hour right-of-way when a big tractor trailer with no illumination on the side runs a stop sign right in front of him. He T-bones it. It pushes the engine up into the cab of his pickup truck. I've got a video, thank God, because the convenience store across the street, we got our investigator over there right away, and they still had their video, and you can see the top of the back of the lights on his truck go up and bounce like that. It hit so hard. broke both his legs. Fortunately, there were 2 policemen over in the convenience store getting gas. They saw the wreck. They ran over. They had to put the tourniquet on him, keep him from dying right there. He's going to lose this leg. He hasn't lost it yet, but he's going to. So you can imagine how angry that would make somebody that's already living in their pain body. And this lawyer from Dallas is going to come down to Waco and take my pain body client's deposition. So I started meeting with him once a week, 2 months out. We'd meet for beginning an hour, and it got to 2 hours. I learned to do this when I was a psychotherapist with MHMR before I became a lawyer. It's a way to change your mood. I call this guy Mr. T because his first name starts with T. And I said, Mr. T, let me show you something. Clap your hands in front of your face like this. And he did, and he smiled. Before that, he was like this. I said, all right, do it again. And he did it. I'd like for you to do it right now, would you? Come on, everybody. Do it again. That will change your mood. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it will change your mood. I said, well, his real name is Terrence. I say, Terrence, if you can do that, and it changes your mood for just a second, and the only people it doesn't change their mood is somebody who decides ahead of time, I'm not going to let it change my mood. But it will. It will. And if you can change your mood for a second, then you can change your mood, right? If you can change your mood for a second, you can choose how you're going to feel about something. So Terrence would come in every week and we would practice that. And as I would pretend to be this lawyer, oh, and for all of you out there, share this with your lawyers too. If you're going to get your clients ready for deposition and you're going to play that you're the other lawyer and you're being mean to them, you don't want them getting mad at you and hating you, right? Just because you're being mean to them. So take this trick home to your lawyer. I have a funny looking little costume top hat. Looks weird when you put it on. So when I'm Vic, I'm sitting there talking to him like this. When I decide to be John, the mean old lawyer from Dallas, I put on the top hat. That way he can be mad at John, and when I take the top hat off, he's not mad at Vic. It works. So share that with your lawyer. Get him a funny little hat to put on when he's working with his client and he's playing the other guy doing the cross-examination on him. It works. So anyway, I got Terrence doing that. And when he'd start getting, I don't want to answer that, I go, clap your hands. He'd smile, and he'd answer the question. By the time we got to deposition, he sat there and he did good. He did really good. I'm so proud of him. I really think we might get that case settled. It's still going on. I really think we might get it settled now because he did so good. And this lawyer did not think he'd be able to do that good. So that's another hack, that clapping. Remember that. That can help you. Now, somebody might think you're crazy. You sit at your desk and do that. But so what? It can keep you from really going crazy. So, the pain body concept is sort of like, oh man, I don't see anybody here. All you people are too young. You don't remember green stamps, do you? Yes. Oh, you do? I remember my mama. We'd go to the store. She wanted those green stamps, man, because you would check out and however much you spent, for that many dollars, you get that many little stamps. You lick them, put them in the book. And when you get enough books, get that book full or 2 or 3 books, you take it to their little store and you could get a toaster or maybe a set of dishes or a bowl or a mixer or something like that. Well, people with a pain body, they're stamp savers. Somebody hurt my feelings. That's a stamp. He frowned at me. That's a stamp. My husband yelled at me. That's a stamp. I'm going to put them in there. I'm going to save them, and I'm going to save them. And then when I get my book full, I'm going to throw a temper fit. I'm going to raise hell. I'm going to do something that then I'm probably going to regret. I'm going to be embarrassed about it. So don't be a stamp saver. The way to do it is when you get one of those little stamps, get rid of it right then. Get rid of it right then. And let me tell you, the power of forgiveness is so wonderful. It's not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you, so that you're not carrying all that baggage with you. Now, I do have to say, though, that whoever said forgive and forget, that was the perpetrator just trying to sneak back in. Forgiveness is divine. Forgetting, that's naive. So forgive, but don't be stupid. Forgive, but that doesn't mean you have to give them your money again. That doesn't mean you have to trust them again. That doesn't mean you have to forget what they did, but let go of that emotional attachment to the wrong. You always have time to stop and breathe. In yoga, that's called pranayama. I love pranayama. Learn to breathe slow. When you get stressed, in and out. Take 4 in, 5 out. 5 in, 6 out. Because the exhale is what lowers your blood pressure. The exhale is what works the vagus nerve and lowers the blood pressure. I learned this from people in Sri Lanka a few years back. Lowers the blood pressure. So learn to breathe slow, let go of your ego, and try to see God in all people. That's pranayama. And then stop to think. Think about what you're doing. Don't have immediate reactions. So many of us are prone to immediately say no, to immediately throw up a negative screen because, oh, I've heard that in the past, or I've had an experience like that in the past. No, just stop and think about it and try to be more open. Doesn't mean you can't say no. Like I said, you have a perfect right to say no. But think about it and be open to it. I heard a guy say one time, but I'm afraid if I stop to think, I may not ever get started again. You will. Stop and think about it. Now, everybody wants to know how to get what they want, right? But what is it that we want? We have to boil that down to its essence. And through my years of meditation and reading, I've come to the conclusion that it all boils down to this. We want 2 things: happiness and peace. That's it. Everything else just builds toward those 2 things: happiness and peace. So I came to realize what we all seek is the same: happiness and peace. I want that for me, and I want it for everybody that I come in contact with. And I try to project that. I want happiness and peace for me. I want happiness and peace for you. Happiness is so important. It's even in our Declaration of Independence. Franklin and Jefferson and Adams wrote it into the Declaration of Independence. It says, the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that must really be important. But we as humans, oh, and they said those are, I love this word, unalienable rights. That means they can't be taken away. They should never be taken away. But too often we as human beings take away our own unalienable rights by our compulsive, obsessive, negative thinking. So many of us have tapes going on in our head that are left over from our childhood. Childhood imprints from mom or teachers that you're unworthy, you're stupid, you don't deserve this, you're not right, something's wrong with you, you're not lovable, you should be ashamed. And so often those voices go off in our head. Those are childhood imprints. Childhood imprints are hard to deal with because they're almost hardwired into our brain. Our brains are made up of 3 parts. The stem, which is the reptile brain. A lot of you have read about that. That's where people come from. Defensive, always seeing danger, always trying to protect themselves, always trying to protect their spawn. It's the reptile. The second one is just the subcortex. That makes us emotional and bonding. And then there's the frontal cortex. That's where we get all our higher reasoning. But all of those parts of our brain have only 2 operating systems, 2 programs that works through all of them. So it doesn't matter which one of those you're in, choose the right operating system. The first operating system is reactive. That's a red operating system. Humans evolved the reactive for our own protection. Seeing danger in everything. Seeing something on the ground, oh, it's a snake. No, it's a stick. It's a snake. You know what? The guy who thought it was the snake, he probably lived longer. And he passed that trait on to his offspring so that they were more nervous about things that are out there, seeing the danger, seeing it. So we're prone that way, so we're going to have to do a little work to get away from the reactive programming. But it can be done. Imagine a mountain. It's like a cone. And the rain falls on the mountain, and the water runs down the mountain. And it makes these grooves down the mountain. It makes these ruts. That's how our brain is. Those grooves and ruts are our neuron trails. And our neuron trails are put in there by repetitive thinking, the things we dwell on, and that's our programming. And a lot of those neuron trails are already there and they're negative. Now, the way to get rid of that is you don't use it. You accentuate the positive. That's a good old song, isn't it? But it's true. You accentuate the positive and you spend less time on the negative. And what happens? Those trails start growing over with grass. And the other trails are stronger. So what we do is we need to operate under the other program, the responsive program. The red program, the reactive program, makes us feel apprehensive, exasperated. We get it when we feel pulled in all different directions. And the reactive mode sends a signal from your brain to your body that releases a cascade of stress hormones, adrenaline, and cortisol that are going to affect your health. Not just your mental health, but your physical health as well. We need to get rid of those chemicals circulating through us that are generated by that negative thinking. Now, that was put there in us originally to help save our lives. When the tiger would show up, when the bear would show up, when we had tribal warfare and death was imminent, it was for that emergency energy to keep us alive. But then when it's over, our brains created another thing that shoots out a little chemical that's to help us relax, to get back into the responsive zone, to get into the green zone. And our goal is to stay in the green as much as possible because that's really our home. That's our default. The red zone is for when we just need it immediately, for that immediate help, and then go back as soon as you can to the other. But the problem is that the human mind is capable of staying in a state of agitation even when our immediate environment does not call for it. Even when the danger has left, we're sitting there thinking it over, rehearsing things that have already been said, refighting the battle, dwelling on it. The secret is to try to stay in the now, not in the past where all that stuff is that's bothering you, not in the future with the things to worry about, but try to stay in the now. Try to stay with those positive things. And the way you do that, because fear, frustration, and heartache, man, they color the mind. And even if you start this exercise right after you leave here today, it's going to take a little while because it takes a while to change course. So I'm urging you to start concentrating on the positive. Stay in the green. David in Psalms said, "He maketh me to lie down in green pastures." That's the restorative. He leadeth me by the still waters. Not he leads me by the rapids where I might fall in. Not he leads me by the rough water. He leads me by the still water, so I can look in and see my reflection looking back at me. So I can be reflective. So I can change my behavior. The next line is, He restoreth my soul. That's where the restoration comes from, is giving up our compulsive negative thinking and restoring our soul by concentrating on the positive. When you're in the green, you're meeting your challenges without them becoming stressors. And all of you have enough stressors in your life. Being in the green zone slows your heart rate. It promotes digestion. It lowers your blood pressure. And it replenishes the body and the brain after we've had these little flurries in the red zone. Those flurries are meant to be temporary. You've seen swans on a lake or ducks on a lake. They're so peaceful. They're gliding. But every once in a while, one might get a little too close to the other, and they're like, flapping the water. They're not really hitting each other, but they flap the water and they go a little crazy. And then they stop and they slide off just really gently. That's the way it's supposed to be. Recover from that as quick as you can. Recover from those challenges as quick as you can. And know that when you dwell on it, you're hurting yourself. You're just drinking poison when you do that. Let the green zone be your default. Now, all of you have too much to do. I know that. But I heard a story about a man who was in Rome, and he walks into a big cathedral, and he sees way across the side a man on his knees working on something on the floor. So he walks over, and he realizes he's putting a mosaic together, gluing in these small little pieces of glass and rock and putting the grout over it. But he looks and he sees that it's going to go all the way around the building. And he's got maybe 20 feet of it done. He said, I asked the man, how do you manage that knowing you've got all this to do? He said, well, I just kind of draw off what I think I can get to today. I work on that, and I'm not going to worry about the rest of it until I come in tomorrow and draw off what I'm going to do tomorrow. Right now, you've got 1,000 things on your desk, and you're worrying about the ones that you can't get to. Monday morning, what am I going to do? That can be paralyzing. Don't worry about the 1,000 things on your desk. Don't be paralyzed by that. Take the one thing you know you can do today and concentrate on it. Get it finished. And it will give you such a sense of completion and enjoyment. And it'll even raise your self-esteem. I used to watch Saturday Night Live. Remember Stuart Smalley? Yeah. People laughed at him. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. We laughed at him, but you know what? That's the way to do it. Tell yourself that. Believe that. And not only believe it, believe that other people believe it. The self-fulfilling prophecy is, I am what I think you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. That's why we behave differently with other people sometimes. They come in, I go, I don't know why I always act so stupid around that person. It's because you think that person thinks you're stupid. And so we try to fulfill what they're thinking. So get away from that, I am what I think you think I am kind of thinking too. You are what you are. Find that strength from within and rotate around it. Rotate around it. Now, some of the stressors that you're going through right now is doing multiple things at once. Processing dense streams of information. Wow. Racing from here to there. Working long hours. Rapidly shifting gears from one thing to another. Traffic. Don't you hate traffic? That's part of the reason I left Austin. I opened the newspaper one morning and it said, Austin traffic approaching critical mass. I said, oh babe, we got to get out of here. So we put our house on the market. 1 month later, we had a cash buyer. And I said, oh my God, I'm homeless. What do I do now? Fortunately, even in spite of Chip and Joanna, we were able to find a house in Waco that was within our price range. So balancing work and family is another one. You got to make time for your family and make time for yourself and take care of yourself. It can't just be sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice for the job, or you're going to start feeling a sense of inadequacy that you're not going to get over if you don't take care of yourself. Move. Get up and move too. In the wild, we were able to work off that cortisol. Our ancestors worked off all that cortisol because they were physically active. Today, our society, the way things are set up, we can't be as physically active as we used to. I mean, my dad's a Baptist preacher, and we lived in the parsonage, just like 2 doors down from the church, and my mom would still get in the car and drive to the church. Anytime you have an opportunity just to do a little bit of movement, it'll help your body, it'll help your mind. And it puts the mind right. Now I tell you, we have this negativity bias, the stick, the snake, all that kind of stuff. For so many people, that's the new normal. That's the new normal. But if you stay in that, if you stay in the negativity, when the responsive, green, restorative mode is your real home, you're basically making yourself homeless. Psychologically homeless, because you're not living where you should be living if you're in that negative state. What I want to talk to you now, and this is my last hack, Velcro for the brain, Velcro for the mind. You can use your mind to change your brain. The mountain with the rain on it, the grooves. Use your mind to change your brain. I want you to think of something right now that made you happy. I want you to think of a time when you felt strong, when you felt good. Or think of somebody that you love that makes you happy. Has everybody got that? Now I want you to take your fingers and reach out and grab it like it's a thing. That experience, that time with my child, that time with my wife, that great meal we had, that whatever. And I want you to take it and put it on that Velcro on your brain. Imagine that brain with Velcro, and you take that experience and you put it there. And when you do that, it's going to be there so you can go back and revisit it. You can go see it. And what I want you to do is whenever something great happens that feels good, make that little Velcro wad and stick it there. And then go back and visit it. I want you to have a whole file, a whole playlist. Like you do on your phone or your songs, have a whole playlist up here of positive things that you can go back and visit to lift your spirit and to lift you up. A couple weeks ago at home, my wife got up from the living room and she was going to go back to the bathroom to brush her teeth. So I just got up and followed her. I like her. You know. I kind of like her rear end, and you know, after 23 years, we still get along. So I followed her to the bathroom. And about the time we got in the hall, I started singing, "I will follow you." And she looked at me, and she started singing, "Follow you wherever you may go." And then we had our toothbrushes, like microphones, and we were singing to each other. And then we danced a little bit. And I said, "Oh my God, that's got to be a wad of Velcro." So I took that little experience and I put it right there. And I've gone back and I've visited that experience several times in the last 2 weeks. Like when I'm driving to work, I hit the red light. Well, let me open my playlist and go through some of those positive green zone experiences and remind myself of that. And you know what's wonderful about that is that the more you do that, the less you're going to be thinking about the negative things you've been obsessing over. And those negative trails are going to start growing over with grass. And that Velcro that you put up here for those other trails, they're going to get stronger and stronger. And you know what the great thing about that is? The green mind is contagious. Birds of a feather flock together. Like begats like. Those are basic laws of the universe. And as you spend more time in the positive, as you spend more time Velcroing those positive things, you're going to find out that better things are happening to you. That people are treating you better. Now it takes a little while to turn that ship around, but you'll see that they're treating you better because you're treating yourself better. And that spills over. People pick up on that. I am what I think you think I am. Well, that person is going to be seeing that you think much more highly of yourself than they might have thought. And they're going to treat you that way. They will treat you the way that they think you are. They will treat you they'll treat you the way you think you are. Because they're going to start thinking it. So meet your challenges with a sense of kindness, compassion, and love, and it will be drawn back to you. Because the road we're traveling keeps unraveling. I'm quoting my friend of mine here, MC Yogi. His real name is Nick. Check out his music sometimes. MC Yogi. He has the most spiritual, uplifting music. He's a yoga teacher out in Point Reyes. I spent a month with him a couple years ago in Sri Lanka, studying meditation and yoga. But this is from one of his songs. Because the road that we're traveling keeps unraveling. You got to pay attention to see what's happening through the ups and the downs, the highs and the lows, the ins and the outs, the ebbs and the flows. What's around the corner, nobody knows. That's why we always have to stay on our toes. Through the twists and the turns, the bends and the curves, each lesson in life is karma that we learn. And you know, there's good karma and there's bad karma. You got a bank account for each. Build up your good karma bank account. I love you all. Work on your minds. Work on those priorities. And you can be the sweetest person in the world and still not take crap off of anybody. Do that.